see here.
Starting.
Okay, there we go. So, I am your brother in Christ. Today we have two guests with us. We are going to be covering the coronavirus, how to survive it, gambling, and hopefully not choking. And what was the third topic? Student loans, which has something to do with gambling after all. So let's go ahead and dive in with the coronavirus outbreak. So we have this coronavirus that's going around, and it started in China. And so far, as of now, confirmed cases are above 37,000. We don't even have 1,000 dead yet. We have 815 currently dead. It looks like it's starting to level off, but it could be basic graph. Us not getting the correct numbers from China, which is definitely a question, because they can be trying to save face. So the question is how best to survive or deal with this coronavirus, at least the concept of it. I'd say the main goal would just be prepare, just like any other. I mean, how many times have we heard about different viruses going around? Oh no, this is going to be the end of us. Oh no, this is going to be the end of us. A few years ago, we had Ebola going around. And what's the last time you heard about Ebola? It's been quite some time. So obviously, these things sometimes come, fade away, and then we never hear about them again. Sometimes we only hit a small amount. But in any case, I'd recommend just being prepared. Get some survival food, some non-perishable items. Worst comes to worst, you end up having some food stored up in case of emergency. If you're up in the north, bad winter storm knocks out power, knocks out your ability to move anywhere because the roads are covered in ice, then you have something to fall back on and you're not in trouble.
Water and medical supplies also.
Water and medical supplies, yes.
But it is encouraging to see that there are 2,990 people recovered from it already, so it's not just declining. There are also recoveries.
So the transmission is very similar to the common flu. The R factor is pretty high, but it's not as bad as measles. Basic hand washing, covering your mouth when you cough, elbow. Medical, using the masks if you're infected. But I think as of today, there's only 12 that are in the U.S. So the governments appear to have been doing a good job in quarantining and keeping this back so far. The numbers are starting to taper off. The infection rate appears to be dropping, but that's based on the numbers from China, like Eric said, so we're not sure if that's really very accurate or not.
So, like you said, we have 12 in the United States confirmed cases, 3 recovered, 0 death at this point. So we have no fatalities in the United States. Our medical, at least our access to the medical field and medicine is quite significantly larger than China's. So,
I don't know about that. Depends on where you are.
So, okay. So any other advice that you guys would give as far as this outbreak goes?
Now, there's a lot of good information on the internet as well as a lot of misinformation. Maybe, I don't know if you want to put some links down below.
They'll be in the description.
Okay. There's a couple of other YouTubers that I would suggest for following this if you're concerned. Right now, it's a very nasty flu. More people have died of the standard H1N1 strain of the flu this year, so nothing to panic about, but just good hygiene and go from there.
So basically, don't be an idiot. So, the best way of preventing it, just prepare, don't panic, don't make it bigger than what it needs to be. Just be aware of it, prepare, set aside food, water, medical supplies in case you actually do need them. They won't go to waste in case of another emergency. Yeah, is that right?
Okay.
Wash your hands, use a mask.
What's the next topic?
So, let's go ahead and talk about gambling. Now, this one comes pretty recent to us because we were just in Las Vegas, actually, a couple weeks ago. So, you want to talk about your experience there?
Man, where to start with this? Okay, so question on gambling. You can do worse things with your life. But I did see, this is the second time going there. And both times have been for visiting my father. And this last time, unfortunately, is when he passed away. But my eyes were open to something on this visit that I hadn't seen the last visit. The last visit, it seemed like, casinos, it wasn't the typical feel for walking into a casino than what it was almost like, is this it? Is this all it is? I saw a bunch of electronic slot machines set up with older ladies sitting there and just feeding a quarters and smoking a cigarette or whatever, and walking by, and I didn't at that point see any card tables or any roulette tables, and not the kind of image that you usually see on Hollywood films. And I thought, oh, well, it's almost like an old arcade when I was a kid, just walking through and popping some quarters and playing a game. No big deal. But this time it was a little bit different because in the light of my father's death, I saw it a little bit differently. He had spent a lot of time playing the slots. And the friends that he was hanging out with did too. And I discovered that there was a lot of time that was just being poured into this, and a lot of money that was ended up going. And even in those little penny slot machines, they're psychologically rigged for you to sit there and lose money. I mean, let's face it, if they weren't making money, then they wouldn't be setting up the machines. Question is, how fast is that going and how much you're doing? And I heard someone justify that, well, it's just entertainment, just like you would go out in the movies and spend $20 or whatever on watching movies with the family. How much, take $20 and just go do this and spend just as much time. So I want to put that out as a question to you guys. That's I'm out there in Vegas or wherever. This is actually a smaller place called Mesquite, which is closer to the Arizona border. But I'm in there in a casino, and I'm just spending my money. The food's cheap, there's a little entertainment on the side. They got games with sports and stuff that are going on. And I'm just feeding this money in. It's no big deal. It's just a game.
Well, I'd say that there's a couple of differences definitely when it comes to either video games or going to the movies. Both of those are set. The movies primarily are set amount of time that you'll be there, as well as a set amount of money that you'll be spending on this. Everything there is oriented at getting you to play longer, be there longer, lose track of time. At the casinos that we were at, the windows were tinted, so you couldn't really tell what time of day it is out there. There are no clocks. You're allowed to smoke in there, so you don't go and take smoke breaks outside and realize how late it actually is. And at the same time, they're overloading just your sight, your smell, the sounds around you are just overloading your senses into where you can spend hours and hours on this and not realize what you're doing. Movies would be different in the aspect that there's a set amount of time that you're watching. Now you could go watch another movie, but they're at a set amount.
Yeah, one of the differences between that is it's actually keyed to an endorphin hit in playing the slots. And when you see a movie, there is you go for an emotional experience, but it's not the same. when you get this endorphin hit and going in and going in and going in more and more and more and more and more, and you can't really calculate well what the odds are. I mean, if it was like 1 in 10, okay, we can wrap our minds around that. 1 out of 100, maybe we can. But when it starts to get to astronomical numbers like winning the lottery, we can't really, our minds can't really conceive of what those odds are. You might as well just take your money and throw it up in the air as you're driving down the freeway, because you're not going to see it again. So there is that psychological hit. I'm not doing a very good job playing devil's advocate.
No, you're not. There are two different ways of experiencing entertainment. Either it's a proactive, you're engaged in it, you're part of it, or it's a passive. When it comes to movies, that would definitely be passive. You're sitting there watching. You maybe get pulled in, might care about the characters, but for the most part, it's passive. You're just sitting there. Video games as well as gambling both are active. You're both in there. You're both fighting for it. In many video games, you're fighting to try to achieve something. In gambling, you're risking something in order to try to achieve a win.
So, okay, let me throw this at you, Abby. So it's a risk. I mean, how many other things in life do we do that are a risk? I mean, we take a chance. A stock market. I mean, what's the difference between, playing slots in the stock market? I mean, it's all a gamble. You don't know whether you're going to win or lose. It could crash next week and it'll all be gone. At least this way you can have fun doing it.
Well, in my mind, the thing it really comes down to is return on investment. I mean, when you're investing in stocks and things like that, you're doing it for the point of, it is a risk, it is a gamble, so to speak, but the goal of it is to invest your money in something wise, to be a good steward, and to hopefully get, return on investment. And when you're talking about the games, the slot machines and such, pretty much going in there that that's not going to happen. Maybe one of the, 1,000 people that go in there is going to end up with some good money. Whether or not that's better money than they started off with is questionable even then. But with the stock market, you can go in beforehand and you can see, okay, this is what I'm looking at. This is what my risk is. So far it's going up, so far it's going down, whatever the case may be. You're able to make a wiser decision, and it's not for the sake of entertainment.
Okay, and if you're putting it in stocks, hopefully it's in a company that's going to do something positive with it. And say you're investing in, a new airline or something that's, okay, now they're providing transportation for people. But when you invest in the slot machines, the people who are going to receive the money, who are they? What are they really involved with? You don't know.
Yeah. And you're really feeding that, just as, you might think, well, it's just this one game, and if you're that one person who can actually keep it to, one game, you're still putting that investment back into promoting it for every other person who's there who's definitely not one game. It's more and more and more and more. And unlike a movie or a video game where you get that, oh yeah, they made it through that hardship, or oh yeah, I scored this great score in this game. You're constantly having that negative emotion of, oh, I lost again.
Well, there are some similarities between slot machine psychology and video games. There's a lot of endorphin hits that you would get with that as well. So, but one of the differences here is that you are losing time on both of them, video games and playing the slots. I'm not talking about the card games because it's a little bit different, but at least in the slots you are losing it, or in the lottery. But here you're also losing money with it as well. So it's time and money that are both shot.
And I guess the other part of that is just the pure addiction of it. Being addicted to being able to make that one win out of 1,000.
Yeah.
To get that one hit and then you're hooked. Or the addiction of just wanting to get at least something out of it. You can get that out of video games the same.
Yeah.
You really can.
Just one more game.
Just one more game. Just one good game.
Just one good game.
you can get that just the same. But on one hand, you are basically wasting your money or wasting your time. Yeah, you're doing the same with video games. I guess the question is, what are you doing while you're doing it?
It's almost like student loans.
That's a good segue. So we can use that to roll right into our student loan forgiveness and whole concept around student loans itself.
So how is gambling like taking out a student loan for college? I mean, okay, devil's advocate here again. It's not even close to being the same. I mean, I'm not gambling. I'm investing in my future. I'm increasing my skills so I can go out there and get a better job, right? Or just investment in myself, understanding in the world, which is eventually going to pay off. So it doesn't matter. It all works out.
Well, I'd say that it's very similar in as far as risk management goes, because counting on what field you go into, I mean, an engineering degree is quite valuable. It's a good investment to do an engineering degree, definitely if you've got the desire for that. Medical field, again, is a good investment because you get a good return on it. But gender studies, agriculture, if you want to be a farmer,
English lit?
these are all very poor gambles that you're making, because you're basically gambling saying, I'm going to invest this money up front, and what I get will be either equal or greater than the money that I'm investing into it.
Yeah, I'm not trying to bash English lit, but that aside, I'm sorry for any my English teacher out there. But all right, so what's wrong? And eventually, I mean, I have to have a degree to make money, right?
No.
No, there are many different avenues. In fact, local colleges it can get you a degree at a much cheaper rate than a big university.
No, my question was, getting a degree is my key to success.
Again, there's also
Career centers
or
VOTEC kind of thing. Lots of places where you can get education, but you don't need to go for a degree. You can only invest into what you're actually going to get benefits from. And putting education aside, there are ways to get jobs that don't need it. I mean, obviously, if you want a doctor, please go to school. I don't want you operating on my family without that. But if your desire is for something that you can just get training in, whether that's on the job or, a class here or there, you're not stuck into 4, 8 more degree in order to hopefully someday pay that off, or have your kids pay it off after you, or rely on the government.
So how does this relate to gambling then?
Again, you're putting down money to hopefully get a degree that would be better, give you a better job in the future than what you could get without the degree.
I guess it would be gambling if you're taking a blind chance without knowing what you're getting into. If you know to say the only way for me to get into a particular career of choice is that I have to have a degree. Then say, okay, I really like interpretive ballet, and I really want to get into that. And I went to a few ballet studios, and they said, well, you have to have a degree. I don't know if this is true or not. I'm just using this as an example. And they say to do that, huh?
No fact checking.
No, yeah. So in order to get into the studio, I have to have a degree, and it's going to cost me, off the top of my head, how many thousands of dollars? $40,000 a year, maybe, for a 4-year degree. $160,000, again, a number off the top of my head, to get a degree in creative arts, and now I can go and be a manager of a ballet studio. And then I find out that it doesn't work. That's more of a gamble. First of all, you do have to research to find out what's needed in your particular career. And then once you have that, say, is the cost of that degree or that certification really, when am I going to be able to pay it off in that amount of time? If you don't do your homework, you are gambling with this.
Oh, what if it's not a gamble? What if we just have student loan forgiveness? And they just wipe it clear. I mean, that's free money. You get to...
No, it's not free.
It's not free.
Somebody has to pay for it, right? Somebody has to pay the teacher. Somebody has to pay the $200 textbook costs, all the other fees that are associated with schooling. Somebody has to pay for it, because otherwise you can walk onto a university and say, hi, I'm enrolling, but I'm not going to pay tuition. Are you okay with that? And they will tell you no. Somebody has to pay for it.
And so who's that going to be is the question we're left with. And yeah, the colleges aren't going to be like, oh, sure, you don't need to pay us back. So where's that going to come from? I mean, a lot of people propose, oh, we'll just, slap it on taxes. Everyone will pay for it. Well, then who's hurt the most by that? The people who actually saved up the money, did the extra work, spent so much time making sure that they could pay for their own student loans or not even need them to begin with because they made this money before they went. And then they're stuck with paying for everyone else's too. I mean, that's not fair.
Are they going to be reimbursed for the amount that they already spent on their student loans? They've already paid it back.
Counter argument. I am going to be bringing such a benefit to society that society should pay for my education.
Well, I mean, in those cases, there are lots of programs where future employers are like, hey, you know what? Because you'll be adding so much benefit to us, we'd be willing to take on either those loans or to pay for you to go through college. And that's a great investment. If there's a company that wants to invest in you like that, then go for it. But if it's just, well, everyone in general should pay for me, I mean... it should be a choice.
I want a master's in underwater basket weaving, and I think the public should pay for it.
If the public wants to, I mean, Kickstarter, GoFundMe, go for it. But I don't want to.
But it's art. It should be funded. Everybody benefits. Tell me to shut up, please.
That's the question. It's the same argument. Well, don't you want to help people? Well, of course we want to help people, but we want to be able to select who we want to help. It's not just... cover all, and I've gotten to a discussion that was the end question, definitely, when it comes to healthcare for all. Don't you just want to help people? Well, yes, I would love to help people in my local church, in my local community, but it's not just a cover all. If you're doing something that's incredibly stupid and expect me to basically cover either your student loans or your health bill, check again. You got to be smart with this and not just go out there below the money and go get your degree in underwater basket weaving.
Hey. Be nice.
Hey, it's reality.
Art. It's art.
It's also trash.
We all benefit from it.
Definitely a sea creatures.
Who now are caught in all those baskets and have died. Congratulations on extinction.
Fantastic. So that's definitely a question with this election year coming up. Is one of the major focuses of it. It's either socialized healthcare, if it's worthwhile or not, and student loan forgiveness. I mean, how many people, definitely Democrats who are running, have promised free stuff? Give you free stuff, but they don't tell you that they got to increase the taxes on everyone in order to get it up there, or to give you the free stuff. So as we're closing out, any final statements on any of the topics that we have so far covered?
Be wise with your time and your money. And invest in things that are going to last. Invest in people. Invest in the Lord. Invest in relationships that are beneficial. And the skills, hone in on those skills. Don't devote yourself to entertainment, self-gratification all the time. You have limited time on this earth. Use it wisely.
I think I really is where it comes down to. Our relationships are what's going to last more than anything else. The investment in the time with the Lord, the investment in time with each other. I highly recommend us focus on those in order to see not just something that helps each other through this life, but something that will last through eternity. With that, would you like to end us in prayer?
I suppose so.
Oh, the surprises!
Lord, you know everybody's situation, and we do need to take some time off and blow off some steam. I pray that whatever entertainment form we look for would honor you and help us to be good stewards of our time and our money. And may all we do glorify you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Final thank you to our guest speaker and author, Daryl. Yes, I'm plugging his book. The link is in the description and in the cards. And of course, my lovely wife, who joins me quite often. If you don't know her by now, that's your own fault.
Abby.
ISO Elohim. And our little cute son, Squeaker!
Yes.
God bless.